Hot takes. We all have them, some of them better than others, some we do not want to admit we once had. Today, we're going to be reacting to the best of hot takes that you guys have given me. This is actually episode 2 of me doing this. I did this once earlier this summer, and without a doubt, this entire summer, this has been one of my favorite videos that I've made so far. So super excited for part 2 today. I do want to say thank you to all of you guys for giving me your hot takes between Twitter DMs, my tweet that I put out saying we're doing this, and my YouTube community section. We got over 115 of these hot takes put in. So, unfortunately, today I only do have 25, but you guys have been giving me these, and they still are coming into this second. So, we're probably going to be doing a part 3 of this, maybe in a couple weeks. So, if you guys do want to see that, make sure to let me know down below in the comment section. And as always, if you guys have been enjoying these videos lately, man, do me a favor, hit that sub button, leave a like down below on this one as well. Lets me know you guys are enjoying these, non-rebuild content anyway. So, we got 25 takes we're going to be going over today, man. I unfortunately cannot spend that much time on each one of them because if I did, we have 25, as I mentioned, we'd probably be sitting here for over an hour, and I really don't want to do that today. So we're probably going to be going over each one, maybe 30 seconds to a minute. I'm going to give you my quick opinion on it. As always, I want you guys to discuss between each other in the comment section. Give me your thoughts on these takes. And again, if I didn't get to your take in today's video, I do apologize. Feel free to comment it again the next time we do this. And also, hopefully I did this correctly. I tried to make sure I did, because some people commented more than one. And, as much as I'd love to go over every one of your hot takes, like for you personally, I'm just not going to do that because we go ahead and, I like to share the wealth, if you will, a little bit. So we got 25 of the best hot takes that I could find today, man. Some a little bit hotter than others. Let's get into this. So our first one here is coming from Cole. Cole, thank you for all the support you always give me, man. This man's given me so many great video ideas, always very supportive of me on Twitter. But let's get into his take. Dejounte Murray will have at least one season where he averages a triple-double, or at least really close to a triple-double. And when it's all said and done, he will have a similar career to Russell Westbrook, at least numbers-wise and potentially accolades-wise as well. We're starting this one off with a bang, let me tell you that. Dejounte Murray, I think, is one of the more underrated players in the league. I think he definitely has the makeup, and his play style is definitely, comparative to the department of maybe averaging a triple-double. Will he ever get there? I don't know. He definitely has to be in the right situation, I would say, without a doubt. I think his numbers probably will go up this year just because DeMar is now gone from the San Antonio Spurs. They've finally gone in full rebuild mode. Accolades-wise, I don't know if he's ever going to get close to, the MVP department. I don't think he's ever going to, lead the league in history in triple-doubles. But I do appreciate it. I do understand where you're coming from this take, though. But that's one down. Let's keep going. My guy Crushable's coming in with the next one here. If you guys don't know Crushables, first of all, you should go look him up. One of my favorite YouTubers, like my NBA YouTubers that I do watch. He makes my thumbnails. All around great dude. If you guys ever need graphics for anything, by the way, definitely check him out on Twitter. The Blazers this season will prove why Terry Stotts was the problem this year. I agree that Terry Stotts was definitely a problem in Portland. I think he made some horrendous coaching decisions at one point or the other. I think Dame, it looks like he's being 100% loyal right now to Portland. I liked their offseason, the aspect of bringing back Norman Powell on a very friendly contract. They moved on from Zach Collins, who's down in San Antonio. I really do like it. The hire of Chauncey Billups had a little bit, some sort of off-court problems there, but I think he's going to be a great coach. I think him and Dame are hopefully going to get along beautifully, and I think Portland can definitely be a playoff team this year. Next one here, coming from Alex Vivieros. Demarcus Cousins would have been an active top 4 center if his lower body wasn't made out of glass. Obviously, Demarcus Cousins' career kind of peaked in Sacramento and then basically went on a slow downward trajectory. It was mostly injury-wise. I mean, he had some very dominant days in New Orleans, I would say, next to Anthony Davis, probably without a doubt. One of the scarier front courts we've seen in the NBA in a long time. But overall, he's obviously kind of taken more of a backseat role in his career. He's no longer an all-star caliber center. But this take, if he wasn't, injury-prone or anything like that, would he be a top 4 center? It's possible. It could. I would maybe even go to say it's probable. It all really depends. I mean, obviously 1, 2 right now for me is Jokic and Embiid. I think a lot of people would agree with that. I think 3 right now, I'm pretty up in the air on whether I have it as Bam or Karl Anthony Towns. Ultimately, you can maybe throw a guy like Rudy Gobert in there as well, maybe DeAndre Ayton after that playoff run. But, top 4 is interesting for me. I definitely think maybe that number 4 spot, I don't know. He would have to beat out one of Adebayo or Towns for me, but it's definitely possible, man. Ben Simmons should be working on his rim protection. He can work on shooting after, so he can play the center position full time. If he could protect the paint with his 6'11", 240-pound frame and legitimately 1-5 switchability, Ben could be one of the best defenders in NBA history. Nets for 2. First of all, I do want to say thank you. You're also one of my most supportive Twitter followers out there, without a doubt. Huge shout out to you for always being there. I understand this. I think Ben Simmons, and I actually got a lot of Ben Simmons takes, I think he should move to the center position. Look, we have seen the video he basically puts on Twitter, or somebody takes on Twitter, every single offseason of him pulling up to his local LA Fitness and playing a game of 5-on-5, shooting threes, shooting mid-range, and it never translates. ever to the NBA. And look, I'm not saying that necessarily does translate. He's playing probably people who are not in the NBA. Maybe he does from time to time. I don't know. But we're looking at this take. I think the Ben Simmons skill set, if he can, develop the skill set where he can be very, very good in the paint against centers, I think this would be an absolute beautiful fit. And obviously that would mean he'd probably have to move on from Philadelphia because Embiid's not going anywhere. But I could see Ben Simmons, even if he doesn't move to that center spot, definitely thriving somewhere not named Philadelphia. Here from Nabil, we got Bulls will be a top 4 seed this year in the Eastern Conference. A lot of Bulls takes. Bulls and Ben Simmons were probably the two, hot topics we had in these takes department. I don't really know. I don't know about this one. I mean, if I look at the Eastern Conference, which in my opinion got better this offseason, I would say my top 4 seeds right now are probably obviously Milwaukee, obviously Brooklyn. I think those two are 100% top 2 seeds. I think Philadelphia will probably still be a top 3 seed. I don't necessarily know 100% about that one. That one's a little iffy on me. It depends ultimately what they end up going, what route they go with Ben Simmons. Obviously, they were a 1 seed last year. I look at a team like Miami possibly bumping up to a top 4 seed. I think Atlanta has a possibility maybe bumping up to a top 4 seed. Maybe Boston if they can get their shit together. And then, Chicago's there. And, ultimately, I do think Chicago's going to be a lot better than they have been in previous years. I think they're a playoff team this year. I think they'll probably be a top, 8 seed. I don't think they'll necessarily be that 9 or 10 seed in the play-in tournament. They might still be in the play-in tournament as a 7 or 8 seed, but, I do think that ultimately they're going to probably be a top 8 seed here in the East this year. And so I put these two back-to-back intentionally. Bulls won't get higher than a 7 seed. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. Raghav Servician. I'm sorry, man. You're always active on Twitter with me, and I do apologize. I'm horrible with names. But Bulls will not get higher than a 7 seed. So, I don't think this one's crazy. I think this is actually more realistic than the top 4 seed, if I'm being honest with you here. As I just mentioned, Bulls will definitely be probably a playoff team this year. Playing at worst, I would say. But ultimately, some things do take time. I mean, we look at I'm not making a comparison, but, we look at LeBron's first year in Miami. They obviously didn't win the finals. I mean, we go on to some other teams that have had first-year adjustments when they've made major changes. They obviously didn't add a superstar at this point in time. DeMar, at this point in his career, is no longer a superstar. He's still a star. He's not the DeMar from Toronto, though. They added Lonzo Ball as well, who I definitely think can help their team both offensively and defensively. But my main thing here is, are they going to get it all together in time? I could see them as a 6 seed. I could also see them as an 8 seed. That's my take on that. Marshall hitting me with one about one of my favorite players in the NBA. That's a joke. Kuzma is going to be worse on the Wizards than the Lakers. I understand where people are coming from with this. I think he's definitely going to get more playing time and a bigger role in Washington. But I see where people are coming from because when he was playing on the Lakers, when, one of, if not both were in, of LeBron and Anthony Davis, there was obviously a lot of attention on those two, leaving Kuzma kind of to go ahead and get those shots and get, not so much uncontested shots, but he definitely, didn't have as much defensive attention as he might in Washington. I also do see it on the other side, though, because he's definitely going to go ahead and probably get more opportunities, more minutes, more playing time, as I just mentioned. But I can see this one going either way. Obviously, LeBron's one of the best playmakers in the entire league, so he does help in that aspect. But again, he also has the ball a lot. So, either way, this one, but I do understand where you're coming from here. Diehard Celtics fan, first of all, unbelievable name, man. The Hawks had a great run this year, but I don't see them going that far, at least for the next few years. I feel like a lot of things went right for them. Ben Simmons playing like 6'10" Jeff Teague. For them to reach the Eastern Conference Finals and can't see it happening for another 2 to 3 years. Obviously, the Nets had injury problems as well, but I mean, who would have knows what happened in that Bucks-Nets series anyways. But I see what you're saying in this aspect. I do, but I really don't think they lost their core. They didn't really lose anybody necessarily that big. I mean, they still have Trey there. They re-signed Collins. They have Capella. But at some point in time, I don't even know if they're going to need Clint Capella because Onyeka Okongwu looks very, very good. Furthermore, they still have Gallo, who I love at that stretch 4 spot for them. I think ultimately, will they be back in the East Finals next year? I don't know, especially with how good Brooklyn's looking like they're going to be coming this year. Hopefully all healthy. Obviously, the Bucks are probably favorites to go back to the East Finals as well. But I would say they're definitely probably going to be in at least the conference semifinals. I do have them as probably a top 4, maybe 5 seed this year in the East. But, I do understand, again, where you're coming from with this. Jalen Green enthusiast hit me with Kevin Porter Jr. when most improved this season. He is actually my pick right now. That's why I put this in here. I don't know necessarily how hot of a take this is. I feel like a lot of people agree with this one. But, I think he definitely has the capability. I think he's one of the more underrated players in this entire league right now. 2K sleeps on him. The dude's a 77 overall, legitimately lower overall than Ricky Rubio. But Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, it's going to be so much fun to watch that young dynamic in Houston. Whatever spots they end up playing both that, whether it's point guard, shooting guard, small forward, whatever route they go with that, I think it's going to be so much fun to watch for years to come. I think ultimately they're probably going to keep drafting for the next 2-3 years. Young guys are probably not going to be a good contender or anything like that. But, 4 or 5 years down the line, I could see Houston back in the playoffs, man. I could see them definitely winning a couple rounds. I mean, Houston could be back in a couple years. You never really know. These things kind of have a weird way of taking these turns. But more focus on this. Kevin Porter Jr., I think as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be definitely in that conversation. Wisco season hitting me with Brooklyn is a worse roster than the Lakers. Big three-wise, I'm taking Brooklyn every day of the week. There's really no comparison there. I mean, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving versus LeBron, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook. I'm sorry, Lakers fans. I'm still taking Brooklyn over them. They both teams in their own have injury concerns just because both of their big threes are relatively old, I would say. But, depth-wise, I'm probably taking the Lakers. And the reason I say that is because there's offseason alone. Malik Monk is now there. I mean, also, I just can't even get over how ratty of a move it is by, Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn. Just rats central ring chasing. I understand the retirement home like Carmelo Anthony and all that, but depth wise I'd probably give it to the Lakers right now. I love the contemporary pieces that Brooklyn does have. I love the Joe Harris, I love Nick Claxton, I love Bruce Brown, but maybe I don't know. That's a tough debate. That's actually one I want to hear in my comment section. If you guys want to have a debate about that one, definitely do that one. Sean Holver says Cade Cunningham will lead the Pistons to the play-in tournament at the worst. The Detroit Pistons, in my opinion, have one of the best young cores in the entire league. Are they going to be in the play-in tournament this year after being one of the worst teams in the entire NBA? I don't necessarily know about that one. I definitely think they're not going to be the worst team in the league this year. I don't think they're going to have the number 1 overall pick again, but I don't know if they're going to maybe be in that 9-10 seed department. I think they're more realistically maybe an 11 to 13, somewhere in that neighborhood. But, if they have a special year, kind of like what LaMelo did with the Charlotte Hornets, I could definitely see them maybe hump it in there. I don't know if they're ever going to be, close to winning anything right now. I think they're probably 3, 4, 5 years out on doing that. I think they're probably going to have to really fight to get in that play-in tournament. So we'll see, though. You never know. Jaquelin Winters, De'Aaron Fox is better than Ben Simmons. Is he a better scorer? 100%. I think Ben Simmons is 100% a better defensive player. I still think Ben Simmons. I shit on Ben Simmons more than anybody. And look, I'm not somebody to defend him, especially after that playoff run he just had. But at the end of the day, overall, he's very, very good. He's not good at shooting, so he's not a typical NBA player. He's not your typical point guard. I know people bounce back and forth with the conversation of Ben Simmons as a point guard. No, he's a power forward. No, he should play center. No, he should be a small forward. I understand that. And that's a conversation that wherever team he ends up being with next, I don't think he should be in Philadelphia. I think it's a recipe for disaster. I think they'll ultimately figure it out there. But, overall, last shot, fate of the universe on the line, as Max Kellerman once said. I'm probably taking De'Aaron Fox still just to get that final bucket. But overall, I think Ben Simmons probably does more things better. But I'd still probably, if I had to build around one of them right now, it's definitely De'Aaron Fox. I'm hoping this is the last one I screenshotted about the Bulls here. But Lachlan Georgievsky's hitting me with the Bulls can make a deep playoff run this year. Could the Bulls maybe end up as a 6 or a 7 seed and end up upsetting the 2 or the 3 seed? I could see it happening. Will it likely happen? Probably not. I think if the Bulls are going to go deep in the playoffs, I think they're going to surprise everybody and end up as that top 4 seed. But more realistically, I see them maybe making the 6 games in that first round if they're a 6 or a 7 seed against whoever that 2 or 3 seed is. But, it is a hot take. I do appreciate it. But, I love their core. I absolutely love what they did this offseason. I'm still interested to see what direction Lauri Markkanen is going to go, wherever he's going to end up. I don't know if he's going to be back in Chicago at this point. But whatever their starting fives look like, obviously, you do have Lonzo, you have Levine, you have DeRozan, you have Vucevic in there. So whoever that starting power forward is, I somewhat wish they kept Thad Young and traded Lauri Markkanen to the to the San Antonio Spurs instead. I guess they really just didn't want Lowry, but ultimately, I could see them maybe making a little bit of a push. Are they going to make it maybe even to the semifinals? Probably not. But I do understand what you're saying here. Briggsy 8, Westbrook is getting underrated. I will be the first to say that I was at one point in time one of the biggest people that thought Russell Westbrook was one of the more overrated players in the entire league. I thought he was a stat padding player that just went out and did his kind of own thing on most nights. I agree with this right now. He is becoming so underrated. The dude averaged a triple-double last year. He did. And I'm not just saying he's underrated because 2K bumped him down to an 85 overall. That does have something to do with it with me, but I don't really question 2K's basketball knowledge these days. But I don't think he's necessarily in the conversation for top 3, 4 point guards for many people anymore. And to me, he probably still pretty close there. He's very, very good. He really is. How is he going to look next to LeBron and Anthony Davis? Not the two best shooters in the world? I don't know. I think Russ's three-point percentage is honestly going to go up this year, though. That is my take on that right now. But I don't know if he's necessarily becoming 100% underrated, but I do think he is still a little bit underrated, at least in my opinion. This might be my favorite one I got. Eric Toscano said the Spurs would have eliminated the Warriors and won the championship if Kawhi never got hurt, and he'll still be a Spur to this day. That first part, I agree with. I think if Zaza Pachulia wasn't a little rat and didn't undercut Kawhi and whatever happened to his ankle or whatever that is, I think, was it a sprain or whatever? I've sprained and actually broken both my ankles. Literally one of the worst pains ever. But I think they would have beat the Warriors. I am very, very confident in that take that they would have beat the Warriors. Moving on to the second part of this one, would he still be a Spur? I don't necessarily know about that. Obviously, he was in Toronto for 1 year, moved on to the Clippers. He wanted to be in that giant market in LA, do his thing. I think he was probably destined to go to an even bigger market at some point in time. I think the LAs are fitting for him. I could have even seen him maybe in Miami or New York at one point. But, I think ultimately Los Angeles is kind of the perfect spot for him. I don't know if he'd still be a Spur, but I definitely agree with the first part of that take there. Yes, this one 100%. Aiden Hamner, 2020 Dwight Howard averaging 7 and 8.5 off the bench is more impactful than 2020 Andre Drummond averaging 14 and 12. Andre Drummond is legitimately one of the most stat padding useless NBA players I have seen in a long time. He is so bad. And to think he used to be categorized as like a good defensive center is actually crazy to me. I don't know how somebody, after leaving a franchise like Detroit, ends up being worse. I'm really not sure, but he was horrendous for the Lakers this year. Horrible. Is now in Philadelphia backing up Joel Embiid, which I think is going to... Can we just talk about a team that doesn't need any more locker room problems? Ben Simmons has just ghosted the 76ers all offseason. Apparently hasn't talked to Rivers, hasn't talked to Embiid, hasn't talked to anybody in that entire department. And they add in yet another possible locker room problem with Andre Drummond. Him and Joel Embiid hate each other. I'm sure a lot of you do know that, but they don't get along. I mean, I'm sure they probably are. If you saw the video of like Andre Drummond walking to like the weight room and saying hi to Embiid when he first got there, it was one of the most awkward, tense, cringy things I've ever seen. I don't think that's going to work out the way they're hoping it ends up working out in Philadelphia this year. But I agree with that. Dwight, that Lakers impact in the bubble was tremendous, man. I 100% agree with that. Kyle Nolan, the Warriors won't be in the playoffs next year. I'm assuming he means this upcoming season instead of next year. I mean, we technically are like a month and a half away, or 2 months away. But, Steph's probably going to be 100%. I don't know what necessarily percent-wise Klay Thompson's going to be. If he's even like 85% of his, former self, I think they're in the playoffs. I think they're probably a top 5-6 seed. They just drafted Jonathan Kuminga. What was it, 7th overall, 8th overall, whatever it was. I look at a guy like Draymond Green, who I think is still one of the more underrated, if not underappreciated, defensive players in this entire league. Wiseman's hopefully developing back from injury. I think they're a playoff team. Are they going to win it all this year? Probably not, but I definitely think they'll probably be in the playoffs. But, you never know what's going to happen with injuries and stuff like that. I'm assuming you maybe mean even without injuries, but I don't really know which way you meant that. But again, I want to hear what you guys have to say on some of these in the comment section. Jalen Suggs will win Rookie of the Year. Interesting. I thought Jalen Suggs was 100% going to be a Toronto Raptor. They went Scotty Barnes. He's obviously in Orlando now, him being Jalen Suggs. It's possible. I think almost in Orlando, though, it's one of those situations in that backcourt especially. There's almost too many cooks in the kitchen. There's so much young talent in that backcourt right there. Fultz, Cole, Anthony. I mean, I don't know what that starting five is going to look like. I'm going to be interested. Ultimately, they're kind of rebuilding. I mean, they obviously traded Vucevic, Fournier, Aaron Gordon at the trade deadline last year, so they kind of gave up on that core, which was good. It wasn't winning anything. But, I don't know necessarily if he's going to get the playing time. I think he's probably going to be the best guard in that team future-wise. 5 years down the line, I think we'll 100% say Jalen Suggs is the best guard in that team, like looking back on what their current roster is right now. But when I look at guys like Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green, who are just going to get tons of playing time on very bad teams this season, I think those two are kind of my top 2 picks right now for rookie there anyways. But again, it's a hot take. This one was interesting. Colin McCarthy's hitting me with, there is no difference in talent between Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, or Zach LaVine. It does not matter which order you rank them, and in most cases, the gap between all-star players is very minimal, except the best of the best, obviously. So, I mean, he's not saying, in the all-star debate, he's not saying LeBron and, De'Aaron Fox or whatever are the same talent. I understand what you're saying in that department, but Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, Zach LaVine. I understand what you're saying here. He's not comparing the players and what they do well. Obviously, Mitchell and Brown are probably, out of those 4, the best two-way players. Zach LaVine's 100% the most athletic out of those 4 players. Devin Booker is probably the best shooter out of those players. They all do something very, very well, and most of them do multiple things very, very well. But I understand they're a group of 4 right there that, like, if you follow like NBA Central on Twitter, will just still post to this day like start 2, bench 1, cut 1, and like it's like those 4 guys, or it's like cut 2 of these players. So, some of that, because those are 4 players that are all young. They're obviously all very, very good, all stars. And, you know, I do think that I do understand what he's saying, but I think at the end of the day, I think there's maybe a little bit of a gap. I'd probably right now, I don't know. This is tough for me. I will rank them just because this is fun, and I probably will do it. This one's honestly kind of hard for me, though. I am a Celtics fan, so I love Jalen Brown. But for me right now, it's probably Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brown, Zach LaVine. And I'm sorry, Bulls fans. None of you are probably going to agree with me on that. Most of you, even if you're not a Bulls fan, probably will not agree with me on that one. But after what we just saw from D-Book and that playoff run from the Suns, I have to put him 1. Donovan Mitchell is better than Jalen Brown. I love Jalen Brown. I think him and the Celtics are going to be together for hopefully a long time. Donovan Mitchell is just better than him. I'm sorry, he is. And then LaVine and Brown, that one's tough for me. I think Jalen Brown overall is a better player. I think scoring-wise, LaVine's better, but that one's tough. Charlie Bender says Giannis is already the greatest international player of all time. It's honestly not as crazy as it would have been 2 years ago. I mean, obviously, we think of international GOATs. We probably think of Dirk Nowitzki. That's what most of us probably think. I mean, we got Steve Nash. We got Hakeem Olajuwon. Who else am I missing? I'm probably missing somebody else. But, you know, for that anyways, I mean, Giannis is obviously now an NBA champion. He's a 2-time MVP. I think he's definitely in that conversation at least. He's definitely number 2 at a minimum, I'd say. I don't know if, maybe 3. I don't know, especially with Hakeem. Hakeem was so good. I don't know if I'm putting him ahead of Dirk yet, dude, especially just Dirk based off that 2011 Mavericks run alone. I almost feel like obligated to give him that number 1 spot still, but again, I want to hear what you guys think on some of these down below. Envy Cash says D'Angelo Russell will be an all-star guard next year and help the Timberwolves make the playoffs. Okay, we're going to go by this one by one. There are obviously 2 takes here, kind of. But D'Angelo Russell will be an all-star guard next season. I think it's definitely a possibility. D'Angelo Russell's been an all-star once before? Was it when he was in Brooklyn? If I do remember correctly, I think so. I think he might have been a fill-in after somebody got hurt or whatever it was. But do I think D'Angelo Russell's going to get improved this year? I think that, you know, that Timberwolves core is honestly a little bit underrated at this point in time for me. I think Anthony Edwards is going to take a step this year. Obviously, didn't end up winning Rookie of the Year last year, lost to LaMelo. I think Karl Anthony Towns hopefully can still be dominant. He's still very good. I love McDaniels that they have there. Are they going to be in the playoffs? I don't know. The West is very, very good. And at the end of the day, are they going to maybe beat out a team like Portland? I don't know about that one, but could I see them maybe sneaking in as a top 10 seed? I'll give you a maybe, but they're going to have some sort of a Cinderella run this year. Eric Velasquez, the Hornets will be the Hawks of next season. Okay, I understand what you're saying by the take of, you know, a team that kind of surprises a lot of people and makes a little bit of a run. Are the Hornets going to make it to the East Finals next year? Probably not, unless some crazy-ass injury bug goes around the Eastern Conference. Are they going to go ahead and beat a team like the Bucks or the Nets? No, they're not. Let's just be 100% honest here. But when you're saying a young team that surprises a lot of people, I definitely do see where you're coming from there. And I do agree with that. I think they're going to be a playoff team this year. You know, they were obviously in the play-in last year. But are they probably going to make that run? I don't think so. I think that, you know, that Hornets core obviously went ahead and lost to Devontae Graham, which is not a small piece to replace. But they had re-signed Terry Rozier on a maximum, or not, what was it, a maximum contract? Whatever extension it was. He's locked up there for 4 more years. LaMelo hopefully is taking that next step. Tremendous rookie season from him. Obviously had that wrist injury, but I like this Hawks. I like this Hornets young core, but I don't think they're going to be the Hawks in next year, if you know what I'm saying. Tay Lee, I know it's a hot take already, but I still think Jason Tatum is better than Giannis. This might be the hottest take that we've had today, and we've had some spicy ones so far. Okay. I love Jason Tatum. I love him. He is probably my favorite player in the NBA right now. I'm a Celtics fan. I know all of you know that. Giannis is a top 2 player in the league, and I don't know if he's number 2. I really, really don't. I mean, if we look at what Giannis does well, he's a very good defensive player. He's tremendous inside the paint. He's obviously one of the most scary, unnatural, freaks that we've ever seen in the entire league history. What does he not do well? His shooting has improved. I will say that. It's still not on the level of where the average NBA star probably is. But when we look at what he also does kind of poorly, he's not the best passer in the world. I still do think his passing is a little bit underrated. I don't think he's a tremendous passer. But is Jason Tatum better than him? No, he's not. And I wish I could say he was, but Jason Tatum doesn't have 2 MVP awards. Jason Tatum hasn't led a team to a championship yet. Jason Tatum doesn't have a finals MVP. I mean, there's a reason for that, and it's not the core that the Celtics have. I mean, Ultimately, I do think Jason Tatum's going to take another step this year, if that's even possible. He's already a bona fide superstar. But is he better than Giannis? Probably not. He's a better shooter? Yes. That's without a doubt. He's a better passer, in my opinion. Jason Tatum's passing and his defense is both criminally underrated, and people to this day still don't understand how good of a defensive player Jason Tatum is. I'm not putting him on the same scale as Giannis, who's a Defensive Player of the Year award. But he's a very, very good defensive player. And I don't think people nearly understand that about his game. He's also very good off ball. But Giannis is still better than Jason Tatum. And we got two final takes here. They were both Twitter DMs. I'm sorry. The way that it's screenshotted, I don't have your name in it, so I apologize. But whoever you are, I'm sorry. But hot take. If Klay and the Dubs stay healthy, the Warriors take the 1 seed in the West. Wow. That is a spicy one. That is a very, very spicy take. Honestly, it's not the craziest thing, though. I think the Lakers are probably my favorite right now. I would say followed that by maybe a team like the Suns, who... Are they aging? Yeah. Do I think they're probably going to be back? Probably not in the finals, I would say. They're definitely going to be back in the playoffs, which is going to be good. But do I think they're going to be a 1 seed with the Warriors? I don't know. I think health is definitely going to be a big thing with them. I mean, obviously, their core is aging of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. They're definitely aging. But could they be a 1 seed? Unless they, I mean, that being said, I will say, not saying that it's going to be the Warriors, but typically something throughout the entirety of the NBA season happens and surprises a lot of people. That being said, did anybody really think that Philadelphia or Utah were going to be the 1 seeds last year? I didn't. I don't think a lot of people probably thought they were. Did either of them even make the conference finals? No, they didn't. So, I mean, these things kind of always have a way of coming about. And, ultimately, I do think that LeBron's probably going to be back in the finals next year. I think he's going to meet up with Kevin Durant in the finals. That's my pick for the finals right now, Nets Lakers. But, this take right here with the Warriors, I think, if they're healthy, they could definitely maybe bump up to a top 3 seed. 1, I don't really know, though. And our final take of the day, it is about the Celtics. Hot take. Time Lord most improved this year, and Celtics end up as a 4 seed. That Robert Williams extension by Brad Stevens, beautiful. If Robert Williams can stay healthy, it's going to be one of the best contracts in the league in a couple of years. Is he going to win most improved? Probably not. Centers don't typically tend to win most improved award. They don't tend to win a lot of things, these times around. I mean, obviously, Jokic just won an MVP, but he's not Robert Williams, you know what I'm saying? If a center's going to win an award, it's typically going to be Defensive Player of the Year. And if I'm being honest with you, 5 years down the line, I think Robert Williams could definitely be in that conversation. Unbelievably underrated defensive center. The Celtics going to be a 4 seed? I get my hopes up for the Celtics every year. They've obviously done a ton this offseason. I think they've actually been one of the winners of the offseason so far. Are they going to be a 4 seed? Probably not. I think the teams that are better than them right now, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, probably Atlanta, probably Miami, maybe New York. I don't know. Probably Philadelphia still. I mean, the Celtics have owned the Philadelphia 76ers in the playoffs in, the past 7 years, whatever it's been. But are they going to be a 4 seed? I don't know. But I do appreciate that. And that wraps up episode 2 of Your Hot Takes. I do want to say once again, thank you guys all for giving me all these hot takes. It was a ton of fun going over these. And again, I could not believe how many submissions we got this time for this. I mean, I think the first time around we only got like 50 submissions, and I think I did around 25 as well. This time we doubled that number, and that's crazy to me to think, but we did. And so again, if I didn't get to yours, I do apologize, man. If you wanted to comment it next time that I do this in part 3, which definitely will come if you guys keep enjoying these, I'll try to get to it. But for those of you who did get in the video, man, I seriously do thank you guys for those takes. Some of them a little bit spicier than others. And as always, if you guys do want to have a conversation down below, any of those takes, whatever it may be, feel free to let me know. If you guys are enjoying the non-rebuild content, want to continue to see it, make sure to let me know by leaving a like and leaving a comment down below. If you guys have any other non-rebuild content, rankings, whatever you want it to be, feel free to leave those down below as well. As always, you guys are new around here, feel free to subscribe to the channel, man. We do this pretty much every day. Slowly but surely rounding out this summer, man. It has been one to remember so far, and once again, thank you guys so much. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one.